Rockum Radio, your rock station.
Hey, this is Evan from Wilderun, and you are listening to Rockum Radio.
How are you spending these lockdown days?
Well, just kind of trying to be productive, I'd say. Trying to, obviously this year has altered many of our plans, so we've kind of had to, shift what we're putting our minds towards right now. So we're just, we're trying to be productive on new music and looking towards, hopefully next year when things change, we can, kind of make up for the lack of things we were able to do this year. So yeah, just kind of trying to be productive on our own, at our home, basically.
Okay. Veil of Imagination is an incredible album. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. What is your opinion about this album?
Well, we're very happy with it. We're definitely, I would say, it's probably the album that we're the most satisfied with the final product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've been happy with. We've released 3 albums in total now, and we've been happy with all of them. But this one felt like a bit of a next step for us, just in terms of us realizing our sound and sort of having a bit more courage, maybe, to try some new things and develop a sound that we feel like is a little bit more ours.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really happy with it. And then we obviously were able to get some different people in on the production that weren't on the previous records that really helped amplify that sound and boost it up. And so overall, very satisfied with how it turned out, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And how was the creative process of this record?
Well, it was not too different than the previous records. We've definitely developed a sort of formula as a band, just given how we're set up. I am the sort of core songwriter of the band, and I always have been. Where I sort of write the start, create things from scratch and kind of create the skeleton of the songs as far as the melodies and the harmonies and the structure.
Okay.
But then I don't personally have nearly as much qualifications in terms of the orchestrating and some of the more detailed arrangements. So I'll then hand off my songs to the rest of the band, in particular Dan and Wayne, who are both handle the orchestrations and the synthesizers and things like that, and a bit more of the production. And then at the end, all the band members contribute to their individual instrumental parts, of course. And then it all comes together. And I think that it's the combination of all those different elements that really has shaped the Wilderun sound.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of playing on everyone's strengths, I think. I think that's how we try to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the orchestration is perfect here in this album. I listened to all the album and it's really good. And I like your previous albums, but in this Veil of Imagination is like an important part. The first record, for example, I listened to your first record for All the Tales and Death Trail. It was more folk.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is the orchestration is really good.
Thank you very much.
What is the meaning of the cover art for this album?
Well, I suppose that I mean you could sort of interpret it a few different ways depending on who's listening. But for us, first of all, the first reason why we chose it, it was a we licensed this piece of art. It was already created before the record was made, but we licensed this particular piece of art, first of all, just because it was aesthetically so appropriate. It just felt like the same sort of visual landscape that we were trying to create with our sonic landscape. And we just felt like, because obviously the album, musically is very colorful and bright, but also has, moments of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt like the album art definitely matched that in terms of atmosphere and just emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But a little bit deeper than that, the record, a lot of the lyrics have to do with sort of losing oneself in your own mind and in your own thoughts, and kind of distancing yourself from reality, through your own sort of neurosis, and sort of losing touch with the beauty of the natural world, which I think is something that a lot of people can connect with and have experienced, especially as they go through life and get older. And we felt, and I kind of felt like that artwork represented that in a certain way. It's, this beautiful, lush pasture, but the sort of creature or man or whatever it is in the middle of it is sort of decrepit and possibly blind to the beauty around it. So, and it's sort of decaying from the inside. So in that way, we felt it sort of connected with what we were trying to say lyrically. So yeah, it works on a couple different levels, I think.
Okay. Which are the difference between this Wheel of Imagination and the previous album?
Well, like you said, I think that we've definitely moved it away a bit from more of the folkiness of the first two records. When we first started as a band, we definitely had the goal of being a more straightforward folk metal band, especially on the first record, but then the second record, we still had that baseline folkiness, but we wanted to try to expand it and make it a little bit more epic and atmospheric and emotional. So basically, I think Veil of Imagination takes that atmosphere and that emotional aspect even further, and therefore sort of abandons what we were originally trying to do, or at least downplays some of that folkiness that was on the first record. And that wasn't necessarily intentional. That was just sort of what happens in the songwriting process. There are a couple melodies here and there on Veil of Imagination that recall the first record, but for the most part, it's a bit more expansive. I think we just wanted to, we certainly wanted to just be a little bit more free in the way that we were writing, a little less tied down to any specific genre. We just wanted to try to give ourselves more freedom. And I feel like that comes across on Veil of Imagination. And also just experiment more with different textures and some different songwriting things. Like we got definitely a little bit more out there in terms of chord progressions and the melodies, and just a little bit more adventurous. And so yeah, I think it's sort of just a general trajectory that we've had as a band. We're just wanting to keep expanding our sound, keep experimenting, and see what new things we can come up with.
Okay, I understand. If you could choose 3 bands as the most significant influences of the album, what bands would you choose and why?
Let's see. Well, the first band I would definitely have to say, one band that has definitely stood with us from the beginning, and is much more apparent on the first record than on this record, but is the band Tourasoft. And they are obviously folk metal, symphonic metal, but and which again our first record was much more of that. But I've always felt like they've had a unique voice in the symphonic metal and the folk metal world, and I've always felt like they've tried to infuse a little bit more interesting songwriting within their songs, and a little bit more genuine storytelling, and a little bit more drama. So I think that we've always been influenced by that, and I think that is still present on Veil of Imagination, even if it's much less folky than they are. But some of the drama and expansiveness and epicness definitely has been influenced by them. I would say certainly Opeth, a fairly obvious one, I know, but that's one of those influences that honestly we never really actually tried to make this record sound like Opeth, but or too similar to them, but obviously we've gotten a lot of the comparisons. And I think that's due to a couple reasons. They were a big formulative band for me back in my teenage years, and even though I haven't quite listened to them as much in the last few years, and kind of, but they definitely formulated a lot of my musicality 15 years ago, and so I think it's sort of in my blood a little bit. So as much as I'd want to attempt in some ways maybe distance myself from it, in some ways it's just kind of in my metal blood, I guess you could say. So, and also my voice just happens to be, I have a very clean singing voice, but then I also do the growls, and I don't really have an in between. And I think that's obviously very reminiscent of Michael Lagerfeld in some ways. So definitely Opeth, and obviously just in the long, sort of long songwriting compositions, obviously that influenced us. And I'm trying to think about who else. I think to throw a bit of an oddball, one totally non-metal artist that I was listening to a lot around when I was writing this material is a man called Sufjan Stevens, who is an indie artist, kind of an indie folk, indie pop singer-songwriter sort of guy, but he's a really magnificent songwriter because he has really emotional, intimate songs, but a lot of times they're infused with epic and colorful orchestrations and chamber instruments and chamber orchestrations, and I think that influenced a lot of quieter sections on this record. He does a lot of beautiful things with woodwinds and strings, and sort of in a minimalist Philip Glass sort of way. And so for me, when I was writing this record, I know even if it didn't directly influence it too much, I was listening to Sufjan Stevens a lot while I was writing. So yeah, I think those would be the three that come to mind.
Okay, interesting. What does your band name mean?
Honestly, nothing really. It is, but I will say that I got it from a book, from a fantasy book called The Elfstones of Shannara, and it really has nothing to do with the band. Honestly, I really liked the word. It was just a land within the fantasy world, just like a mountainous forest kind of land, and I just thought aesthetically word fit. I knew Wilderun, even though we've kind of shifted some of our sound and genre, I feel like it's always had a very organic, earthy feel to it. We've always felt that. So the word Wilderun obviously kind of feels like wilderness, and has always just felt aesthetically appropriate to us. So it stuck.
I like the name. Sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very welcome. How did your music career start? Any story to share?
For me personally, I've always had music in my life since I was a kid. My dad is a musician, and I've been hearing music, good music, and listening to my dad play the piano, since I was a child. So it's sort of been in my blood. And my grandfather actually was also an incredible pianist. Classically trained, so it's definitely run in the family a bit for me. But as far as my career goes, I'm not sure. I always liked playing music, and I always have been doing it since I was I actually started when I was around 11 or 12 years old. I actually started playing the drums. I was and throughout most of high school, from about 11 years old to 18, 19 years old, pretty much the main thing I did was play drums. That was my main focus. And, but around that time, as I, was going through my teenage years and into my early 20s and stuff, I just started to really care about songwriting. I had very minimal ability on the piano and the guitar, but I had just enough to be able to, try to write some things.
Okay.
I couldn't play anything too technical, but I could write. And so I think over the course of my late teens and early 20s, I just sort of fell away from playing drums, and I started to just focus more on the piano and the guitar because I cared about songwriting. And that became the thing. And I think that when I realized how much I loved songwriting, that's what made me want to really pursue music seriously, because I didn't get as much out of just playing the instrument. I don't know if that was enough to motivate me to make a career.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when I really found my love for writing music, that's what motivated me. So, and I think that's what made me start Wilderun in the first place.
Who are your biggest musical influence?
Oh man. Well, I mean, definitely some of the artists I already mentioned, for as far as the influence of Veil of Imagination goes. But besides that,
Mm-hmm.
one artist. I mean, it's sort of hard for me to say because it's a wide array. I could think of so many, right off the bat. But as far as some artists that really grabbed me, that made me want to continue playing music, one man that definitely influenced me a lot in my teenage years was Mike Patton.
Wow.
His project,
Faith No More.
Faith No More and Mr. Bungle and things like that. And he did his project. It wasn't just him; it was a lot of the artists that he was playing with. But a lot of those kind of experimental musical acts really motivated me to. It kind of opened my musical world and opened my mind. So I definitely give him a lot of credit.
Sure, I'm a big fan of Mike Patton.
Awesome, yeah. He's a genius.
I remember
so many amazing records.
Yes, the real thing, that album is fantastic.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it blew my head in 1989. Yeah, it's a great album. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But besides that, I mean, again, I feel like I could list, hundreds of people. So a couple off the top of my head beyond that are Nick Drake. Nick Drake is a singer-songwriter from the 60s that has been really influential on me as far as more of the folky stuff. I don't even know who else. The band Agala. They definitely had a big influence on me for a while. And I don't know. I could keep listing more, but there's just a few.
Okay. You toured a couple of times in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the memories about those days? They
were great. They were absolutely awesome. We played maybe just a handful of shows. Really, it's always just been a few dates combined with the North American tour, and mostly in Quebec and a few in over towards Toronto and that. But they've been excellent. Honestly, I feel like the consistency of the quality of the Canadian shows that we've played has been just superb. Like, I feel like especially in Quebec, there's a lot of enthusiasm for metal up there.
Oh yeah,
and that I feel like it felt more palpable than a lot of the places in North America. I mean, in the United States, I should say. Don't get me wrong. We've had some amazing shows here, and there's some great communities in the U.S. But Canada, when we first played our first couple shows in Montreal and Quebec City, I remember us all leaving those shows just talking amongst ourselves, just remarking at how much enthusiasm there was and how much just real excitement and genuine appreciation of our show and just metal in general that we felt there. And it was great. So after the first times we played there, we immediately were like, yes, let's keep going back as much as possible because we had such a good time. So
wow.
So yes, thumbs up for sure.
Well, if one day you go to South America, you will see the enthusiasm of the people.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah,
wow.
One day we'd love to make it there.
I'm from Peru, and I know what I'm talking about.
Oh wow, okay, awesome. Yeah, we'd love to play there.
What's the craziest thing that's happened on tour?
Oh, geez. That's a tough one.
Right.
Well, we almost got ran off the road on the last day of our last tour that we did because our very last gig was in Alabama, and we were driving to the hotel from. Actually, we were driving to the airport from the gig at about 2 a.m. to drop off one of our members. And as soon as we got onto the highway, we noticed we were on the highway going about 70 miles per hour, and we noticed a pair of headlights coming straight at us. and we veered out of the way just in time. But it was one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. And that we were all in shock for a while. So we almost had a head-on collision with the car going about 80 miles per hour.
Oh my God!
We narrowly avoided it. So I would say, I mean, that was the most terrifying. I don't know if it's the craziest, but it's the first thing that comes to mind because it was slightly traumatizing. So that's what I can remember.
Well, with this question is your opportunity, okay? If you could change anything about the music industry, what would it be?
Oh boy.
Da-da-da-dang.
That's a tough one. Well, I mean, right now I'd probably get rid of the pandemic. I'd probably wipe out COVID. That would be what I would do. No, but besides that, I don't know. I honestly, I think it's a little tricky, and this is like a bit of a weird gray area. But I feel like I would just implore more people to take the time to support the music they like. I think that, obviously the whole streaming industry has taken a big toll on bands everywhere. And obviously, in order to survive, bands just have to tour all the time and play shows all the time. Whereas, 20 years ago, bands could make a lot more money from their record sales and their CD sales. And luckily, the metal community is still pretty good about it. I find that the metal community is better than other music genres in terms of supporting artists. But still, I would just implore people to just, if you find yourself listening to a band, an album more than once on Spotify, please consider buying the download. Just, the $8 or $10 that it costs to just buy the MP3s or buy a piece of merchandise. Because I feel like nowadays it just becomes so easy to access things for free. And so many things are just so easily accessible, and people, I feel like people don't feel as much of a responsibility to support artists, and at least certain people. And again, I also just want to say that we have amazing fans, and so many of our fans have supported us in so many ways. So in no way do I want to sound unappreciative of those who have. But I do think it is up to people to show their support if they want the industry to continue and if they want bands to continue to survive. Like that's I know it's kind of I don't know if that's a cop out answer, but that's basically all I could think of.
What is next for you?
Well, right now the next record we're already deep inside of the next album where the songs are becoming more realized as the days go on, and we're just hoping to get the next album out as soon as we can. Unfortunately, as I said before, this year has been, our plans have been unfortunately altered due to, as with so many bands. So it's not just us; every band and every artist, in the world has been affected by this year. But because of that, we haven't been able to play as many shows and we had to cancel a tour and all that. So we basically just been spending our time working on the next material so we can try to we just want to make 2021 as good of a year as possible to sort of make up for this year, to sort of see if we can get new music out, hopefully get on the road as much as we can. As soon as we're able to get on the road and play shows, we're going to be doing that as much as we can because we weren't able to do the tour support for Veil of Imagination like we really wanted to. So basically, we're just looking to next year, trying to optimize that year in as many ways as we can.
Okay. Any last words to your fans in Rockum Radio?
Just big thanks to anyone who's supported us. Big thanks to anyone who's purchased our album or some merch for the vinyl. We just released the Veil of Imagination vinyl last month, and a lot of people bought that. So just a big thank you to anyone who has, and if you haven't, please go check it out. And yeah, I guess that's it. And thank you for this interview. I appreciate it.